This is the Play No Games podcast. We're the hardest working podcast in Portland, Oregon, man.
Play no
Game. Play
no games
podcast
slash show.
Wow. Now,
It's getting better.
It is. I didn't have to do anything. No priming. Oh, no posturing. Great job.
No cow
guys.
prottle.
Got that harmonization down too. Yeah.
Thank
It was like surround sound.
Thanks.
Thanks.
You know, we're trying. Welcome to the Play No Games podcast slash show, and we're back here again. And we have actually three wonderful people here. You know, one person on screen, two people off. And I just want to let y'all know they're all dope people. Before we get into any of that, I just want to say this: the numbers are growing. I'm actually very happy. The subscribes is actually up. The likes are up. The comments, we got to work on that. So if you really like what we're doing, please comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those things. Don't be confused. We have some dating, matchmaking things coming up at the end of the summer. So on Instagram, if you want some of our clips, it's lookhere.fri on Instagram to get some of the podcast clips. And if you don't want any of that, go straight to the source. We're on the YouTube Play No Games podcast. And you know what we're here to do? We're here to uplift you in social issues. No, time out. No. Do you want to do this? Because you actually...
I keep thinking we're going to talk about something, and then he just starts laughing. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to find like the state, like the foundation of what it is that we're gonna discuss. But I'm with it though. It's cool.
We're getting there. One second, my good friend. Would you like to finish the last bit before I introduce our guest?
You know, we just trying to put you on a higher vibration. You know how we do it. Make sure you're nice and ready. Your ears is warmed up because it's going to be a great show for y'all tonight.
You forgot the other things we help people put on. High vibration, relationship issues. Keep going.
Go ahead.
No, you got it. You interrupted.
You already started.
Hey, social issues and building self-worth, because you all know we got to have a bigger foundation for that. We help build that here.
Absolutely. I have to agree.
Fantastic.
So... before we get into our very first segment, and you get to know more about this gentleman to my right, your left when you're watching, is we have a master storyteller, whether it is photography, video, heck, it could be even his music. He knows how to tell a story. And for all the listeners, I just want to have y'all get blessed with AT, we'll talk about his mentality. We have Anthony Taylor on the Play No Games podcast show today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. You know, anytime I get an opportunity to kind of even share my experience or what it is I do, answer any questions, shoot them from the hip, I'm always with it. So yeah, happy to be here, enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna pass it off to my boy AJ, because he's gonna introduce you to our very first segment that we do before we get into more things. We got some things to throw at you, but this next segment is a little bit of an icebreaker to ease you into things.
So we like to start out our podcast with this segment called Play No Games, and we talk about what we want to play no games about. It could be positive, negative, informative,
Funny,
anything.
serious.
Yeah. It's just like how your day been going, whatever. I'm going to play no games about this, or this is what I've been feeling lately. I don't want to play no games about this. And we're going to start with you.
Communication. I mean, it goes across the board. You were saying like listing topics, you know, funny, serious. I mean, across the board, you know, like communication. If there doesn't exist in anything you do, then you shouldn't even be fucking with it in the first place, because it's just going to cause you some form of stress. Because without communication, you can't identify anything. So, you know, for me, it's like I use the phrase like I don't like treading water. Either I'm going to shore or I'm finna drown. Like at least I know I'm going in a direction instead of just waiting for, you know, something to happen. So communication all day. You know.
Man, that's deep.
Very nice.
That's deep. Kosh, you want to go next?
Yeah, mine's more in the news right now.
Fair enough.
You know, it's It's Kanye o'clock. What I'm playing no games about is this whole Pete Davidson, Kanye West beef. It's getting ugly on both sides. I don't know. You guys probably have seen what happened over the weekend. But yeah, that's what I'm playing no games about right now.
Do you want to elaborate?
I
Or
was
you
gonna
just
say,
want-
Yeah, I guess
we
I'll
can
elaborate.
comment on each other. We can comment.
So Kim made it official that she was seeing Pete Davidson on her Instagram account. That, of course, provoked a reaction from our dear friend, Mr. Kanye West. And this is where I'm gapping. I don't know specifically what he had done to then create Pete Davidson's reaction. Do you guys know about more? You don't, if you want to chip in, Robert.
I was trying to make this a non-Kanye episode because Kanye has leaked himself on the last 5 episodes. But anyway,
He's
that's
a
just.
vulture,
He's, but I'll just say this: so something happened. Pete Davidson's friend or something like that
Okay.
leaked a message, and it was like, "I'm in bed with your wife," and then
Yeah.
Kanye West was like, "Kanye, I'm like, meet me at Sunday service. Bring my kids."
Oh no! So that was the DMs between Kanye and Pete
Yes.
Davidson directly. Yeah. And I don't know whose side to take in this. Honestly.
I don't know this much about my own close friends' relationships, let alone 2 people that I don't even know.
Seriously.
So I'm like, okay, so I see like, oh, that's a divorce. That's rough. Man, you got 4 kids. That's rough.
Mhm.
Some, random person's like the opposite of who you are. Yeah, I can see that. Of course, somebody's like, you put anybody in a situation like that, I feel like it's gonna get. Let alone 2 people who are, celebrities and like folks that are focused on. I think like for me, it's like I don't want to see other people's business like that often enough, and to know like, damn, I don't even know these people, but it's here I am. We were talking about it now. Like I'd much rather talk about like other people that we actually know that impact our lives. Now I will say that the music that may come out of all of this,
Oh,
is going to be phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
But like, get your shit, figure it out. Go do the things that we know and love y'all for. Even me, I was like, wait a second, what is? Oh yeah, Pete Davidson, he's on SNL. But I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, he just plays himself though. Like he doesn't actually he's not like that's what he does. Even like everything he plays his own character, like Will Smith.
Yeah.
Everything is a movie that is Will Smith playing Will Smith as something else. But that's like in the sense of like that's just who he is as a comedian. And it's like, okay, you do that, she does this, he does that. That's cool. But now it's in all of our lives when they have like this altercation of just like the type of shit that either all of us and our own families or people we know go through, where it's like, yeah, if my dad could figure out what Instagram was back in the day, like that shit would be like so lit.
Absolutely.
So it's just like you see like you see somebody you see people you already know who already are struggling with things, and then you give them a tool to like just have fun with it, just do whatever the fuck, and it's just like it's wild to see the snowball effect. But it's like at some point I'm just kind of just like, man, I really don't care. Like I don't care who he's. I'm like, okay, cool. Like bet. What else is going on? Like the docuseries is great. I love learning about how like having motherfuckers that support you can do. Like that's the shit I'd rather talk about than hearing this bullshit. Like after watching that, I was like, the first thing I think I was like, damn, this nigga had so many people that really was just like, nah, man, I fuck with you. Like I see what you're doing.
Yep.
And that literally like made him like that's the shit that like I was like blown away from. But then when you look up anything around Kanye, y'all it's just flooded with this shit. Even to the point when I was trying to watch like music videos, the first thing that's popping up on like YouTube are just conversations about this shit. And I'm just like, yo, this is literally distracting me from the reason why I like this individual in the first place. I already know he ain't that right. I wouldn't be too if I was a motherfucker like that, who even if we have the privilege of seeing like a documentary of somebody who's, from soup to nuts to like music that we see are bangers and people are just literally just like, ugh, whatever. And you're like, wow, really? And then it's just like, now we want to talk about all this other stuff that is kind of just like the opposite of why you want to like celebrate somebody bless you. And it's like, I don't know. It's just interesting to me because yeah, it's funny. I get it. But then at the same time, it's like, okay, realistically, if somebody was dating my baby mama and sent me some shit, there would have been no response. It would have been a knock at the door. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just because if somebody's doing something obviously to disrespect, upset you, but it's like again, like well, I feel like a lot of like Pete Davidson in general, like that generation of just like most folks like live in a sense in an era where you don't get touched that often, and like people act like they don't get touched, and I'm just like, man, you can still get touched today. Like,
you got them hands, huh?
Like I mean, like it's just like that's another past life. I don't talk because I feel like you talk about shit comes to you. I don't I don't speak that piece, so I keep that shit away. I keep the peacefulness for myself. So, but it's just like one of those things where it's just like, okay, now you're talking about man's family, his mental health. What are you doing? You gave that nigga a hug? You tell him he's gonna be okay?
Oh,
I know I haven't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not gonna lie. I've never seen this side of you. I'm so glad. Oh,
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. Like there's a point where you just mute it out, and it's like it's tiring. Like when everything you look up and look at is about the bullshit. Like what are we? Like that's what's popular right now is people going through whatever they're going through. I mean, it's the same extent to kind of go back to the Will and Jada thing. The what was it called? The
Entanglement.
Yeah, entanglement, man, and it became literally a word in the Urban Dictionary, entanglement, and people were using it as like whatever. And it's like we focus on other people's lives more than we focus on our own, and I think if we focus more on our own lives, we might be where those people are. So,
all with that, man. Like that's definitely something where it's like, it is fun. It's culture. Like the shit that we see happening in the sense of like a claymation music video, this nigga burying this motherfucker. Like that's just hilarious to think about. That is something that exists forever. Yeah. That happened to that point, that it influenced somebody at that level to create a piece of art that represents somebody. It's just funny to see that happen, but at the same time, it's like, let's go back to the music. Where's the next video dropping? I don't really care about any of this other shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't like, yeah, it's a lot of the same, and then it becomes, the conversation then becomes personal preference and perception, and the actual core of what it actually is no longer exists. And then it comes to be like what this person thought and what that person thought. And then it's those people who own POVs who don't know any of these actual people now hold a conversation, which I like. Yeah, I get. That's why you have people that have like, it was funny when the Donda 2 live thing dropped, when it was on YouTube for like 2 days, instantly there was just reaction videos. I'm like, damn, this is like a whole genre of people just instantly just want to record it, and then like, I'm gonna tell you what I think, and I'm like, who the fuck are you though? Why do I care what you think? But at the same time, it's like I could see it being entertaining, like to see somebody you have no idea who they are. Yeah, they get quotes, they get viewers, they get all that shit. So I get it, but yeah, it's like, on to the next one, please. It's like, okay, I get it. This week, it's cool. It's on everything. But damn, do I gotta mute this nigga again? I'm tired of seeing this shit. I was like, I unmuted it trying to debate if I get this stem player or not. But now I'm just like, oh, damn, now I can't even type this motherfucking name unless like I'm gonna see all this. Like, I don't even care.
I think like how you broke that down is like the whole like point of why I enjoy hearing like their perspectives of like, obviously if we're getting like real cerebral with it, like what he's doing is really some sucker shit. Like, why are you bothering this dude? If there's a problem, go to his door, like cut all that other stuff out, right? Mm-hmm. But there's like this entertainment factor that in our current society, we're like, I know if I pulled out the DSM-5 and said all these different things, people be like, shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear that. But if I say, guess what? Kanye, bipolar 1. And you're like, oh, yeah, well, or he's like split. Oh, I'm like, yeah, then you'll want to listen to me. And I think where a lot of, in my opinion, entertainment and entertainment and like music is going is people, when you brought up the reaction things, like people really want to hear other people's perspectives. If that person's coming from a balanced perspective, where like they're going to be like, all right, we're going to talk about the Democrats, we're going to talk about the Republicans, we're going to talk about everybody because we want to make you think for yourself. And I think those reaction videos, and I actually just the Hype Beast, Mr. Beast or something like that, like the most watched YouTube person, like he's such a cool kid. Like, I want to hear his breakdown of Donda 2 because he's going to pull some positivity out of that. And I'm like, of course I'm going to watch this. Yeah. And I think, and maybe because I'm just the weird kid or whatever, but like, I just think that's where the next wave of everything's going, of like, how do you take some real positivity or like some deep thinking from this? Because it's toxic.
You ever watch Japanese television?
Anime, but that was fun.
So if you watch Japanese television, every show has like a panel of like celebrities that are reacting to what's going on. Like on cable network around Japan, it's like the big screen. Let's say you're watching like America's Got Talent, and in the corner will be just like panos of like people, how like celebrities react to it that are like watching it at the same time. And then that's kind of what like the YouTube reactions make me think about. It's all about like, how should I react to this? How are other people conceiving this? Am I okay with what I'm thinking about this? Do I share this? I think that's why they're so popular.
Yeah.
It took some time for me to grow into it, but then at the same time, it's just like we do that. We literally, when we have conversations, we're literally watching each other's reactions. Oh, that's all it is. I mean, that's all it is. It's just like I say, so that's all.
Inception.
And then it's just like, yo, this is somebody in a different country with a completely different background, point of view. I want to see what they fucking think about this. Like, so I totally see the value in that, and I think that's something that is like, is I guess something that we take for granted that is awesome to have, to even just be able to have an opportunity to see a different perspective and a reaction. But it is interesting to see the people will make literally like industry job based off of their perspective, regardless of their actual like stature in that world that they're speaking to. Like they will make their voice so loud that he's like, you know what, regardless of what I know about it, I'm going to make sure you know I'm talking about it, that if it's good or bad, you're going to pay attention. You're going to hear me say it anyway. And then I'm going to create a whole, like, it's interesting how you can do that off of perspective now, because you have a tool, a phone, to kind of share that to anybody, to get anyone to be like, you know what, yeah, I do kind of like, I fuck with that. Yeah. Subscribe.
Whoa, great segue. Great power comes great responsibility. Not what I want to play no games about, but actually like something to pull in. Like, if you guys have been keeping up, I've recently said that our numbers have gone up, and like I had to watch myself. I was like, oh yeah, at least on Anchor we got 40, 30 views, and that's not counting the other stuff. People like what I got to say. Yeah. Money. And I had to like really check myself, where I'm building perspective for people to, one, A, laugh, B, have some entertainment, C, learn some stuff, and then D, fact check us and like live your life, like define your purpose. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Shout out to Uncle Ben. Great power comes great responsibility. I had to grasp myself, because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to family reunion and be like, yeah, my little podcast is kind of big now, huh? Yeah. Haha. But what I want to play no games about is, fellas, I want to talk to my fellas. Zoom in, Cost.
On who?
Me.
Yes, sir.
Fellas, it's almost sundress season. It's almost upon us. And I say this because me and another gentleman were witnessing the same thing at the same time. We had two options. It was either just admire from afar, or you just do some catcalling, do dumb shit.
My.
I say this now, gentlemen. If you see someone you find attractive, respectfully just say, you have nice eyes. Can I take you just for some ice cream? Do not do what this gentleman did. Do not chase her down. Do not follow her. just say, I love your hair. Or just do what Rob did. Sat back. I was a busy day today. I was like, you know what? This is all right. Sundress season. It's upon us, gentlemen. Can't wait to play no games about that later. And respectfully, mind your manners. These women don't want that problem.
Yes, very respectful. Yes.
Any comments, gentlemen? Sundress season is here.
Oh man, it's all about the respect. All I gotta say.
Yeah.
It's all about the respect. I have nothing to do.
Yeah, I'm good on this one.
Wow. Hey. Would you like to finish things up for us?
Last but not least, I like to play no games about more positive. Let's say motivations. I want to play no games about motivation. People have to stay motivated. Recently, I took an exam just to see where I was, and I didn't do so hot, but it could have knocked me in a negative way, but it just motivated me to stay moving forward and get back to studying and doing the things that I needed to do to kind of push for my own goals, my own dreams. So I play no games about motivating, man. Like, find your motivation, find your things that you reach for, find the things that inspire you to keep going and keep driving. So
there you go. I like that.
So, at this time, because we want to make him feel like he's just a part of the crew, the team, where it's not just so like spotlight. And I appreciate you just hopping in because that's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But now we want to spotlight you. And before we get into the things that I'm pretty sure, because you talked to me before about being on shows before, you know, before all the, let's say this, you know, the video photography, you know, you had a band.
Yeah, man. I spent like,
Please tell us about that.
yeah, I spent let's see, from the ages of like 15 is when I started playing like music, like punk rock, like hardcore music. I grew up playing jazz clarinet, like jazz, like kind of traditional shit. But I heard some Nirvana. I heard some Sick of It All. It's like this New York style. I heard a bunch of just grungy shit where I was just like really intrigued by the energy and like the message, regardless of what it actually sounded like. In the sense of just like, in the sense where I was like, I grew up in a household where it was like, oh honey, if you can't sing, just go ahead and don't try. Just don't try. But with like punk rock, I was like, nah, man, you yell whatever the hell you want, as long as you talk about has something that, you know, it means something to you, you know, and if it, regardless of who else is important, if you're passionate about it, bet. Like, and I was really intrigued to that. So by the age of like 15 to I'd say 28, I spent playing like hardcore metal punk music in so many different bands. I played like a pop punk band too. Pop punk was fun. Pop punk and hardcore and like that kind of stuff, like Newfound Glory, like that type of shit is like hand in hand with hardcore music. And in the sense of that, it's like the same group of people that instead of talking about the things that they're pissed off about, they just come together to sulk over the people that broke their hearts. Like it's kind of like, but it's the same. Like you like remove the vocal and the breakdowns and the drum beats and the guitars are all the same. It's just how you talk about it. It's just like how you talk about it. Like the way it's delivered makes it a different genre. So again, it was something again on how you deliver your message is what defined the music, and I was really intrigued by it. So I spent a lot of time like playing in different bands, touring. The country, like I mean, I'm talking my like binder full of like MapQuest directions, my nigga. I'm talking today's my birthday. You know what I'm saying?
Happy birthday!
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday!
I turned 37 today. Believe it or not.
Don't
And
look
so
it.
I know. I appreciate you. Shout out to my parents. I feel like during that time that I learned that was my first vessel of storytelling, and I spent like a lot of my time kind of figuring out to the point of just like starting off just for the sake of just like figuring out what the fuck it is I'm doing it just for the sake of having fun, and then figuring out the power of what it is that I was doing, but then coming to a realization that I was good at it. You know, being like, okay, like this is a small business, and I'm literally competing with a bunch of people that sound exactly like me and are doing the same exact thing, that have a very similar type of story. But fortunately enough, ain't many black folks in that scene. So it's just one of those things for me that like honestly gave me an upper hand in the sense that I had a lot to be fucking pissed off about. And that's literally why I really went to punk music. It's like, man, these white people hate the police. I fuck with these people. Like I like these niggas. Like I like them. And even like my dad was just like, okay, I see you guys getting rowdy, but this is fun. Y'all having fun. Like there ain't nothing really dangerous about this, you know, at the time. So when I was getting into it, my dad didn't get it, but like I understood like the power of being able to like use something like music to translate into like storytell in a way to impact other people in a different amount of ways. It could just be through self-reflection, like, oh man, I feel like that. I've said those things before. I've said that before. It could be like, oh, I never thought about that way. Or it could be like, man, I hated that motherfucker too. Like that kind of shit. Like it can make you feel a bunch of different ways. So it was really, I spent a lot more than a decade, you know, talking about a lot of stuff, experiencing a lot of fucking racism. But it's funny enough, like, you know, I was talking earlier when I was like, yo, just drop a pin, you know, where you at kind of thing. Is so before I came to Portland, I was like a $1.95. I used to big shave my head, and like I would rip the sleeves off your fucking shirts. Like I was like a big motherfucker. And like I was still very myself. I was very chill, but I'm like my friends and my family and like With hardcore music, it is very much like it is like it's a family. It's like it's all about it. That's what it's all about. And for me, I was very close to those people instead of my actual family. So I was very, very fucking protective of my people and my friends. So I was like never instigating, but I would wait for something to happen so I could help solve it. And it was funny because when I first moved to Portland, I was still had some weight on me, and I was like, "What am I gonna do when I just came here?" I was like, "I need some part-time work." So I managed security at Holocene for like 2.5 years, and that's how I met a lot of people here when I first came here. It's because I was running the front door and I was bouncing there for like 2.5 years. Mainly just because it was just like, I could just chop you in your neck real quick and drag you out. You don't listen to me, and when you're being inappropriate to women, like all day, I'll do that all day. But yeah, that was like again, it was a different time in my life, and I find like who I am now is like my actual. I say it's like my. If I was a Pokemon, this would be like like my second form. I'm not to my final form yet, but I'm like I'm getting there. Like I've definitely gotten to like a place where I've kind of refined, gotten all the shit out, gotten all the honestly a lot of the adolescence of just like thinking you can live forever and like realizing that before you do something stupid, and being able to be like, all right, I'm good, step away and be like, I want to do this now. And so I like that's why I've segued from music into photo and design, because when I was in bands, I shot photos, directed videos, designed merchandise, pretty much helped manage damn bands, like a lot of stuff, like a lot of things. I did it for other bands too, which was just because I was there and I was like, on stage, backstage. I have 8mm tapes of like hanging out. Fuck, I have to find this. I have to actually get it. I have actual cassettes, like videos of Sonny Skrillex before he was Skrillex, and he was like when we were because he was playing with the band he was in. They had a practice space in Seattle, and I knew somebody from that band, and I was up there hanging out with them, and they were there practicing while they're on tour. Damn. And this is while he was talking about, I'm gonna fucking quit this. I'm gonna do a techno band, and everyone's like, "You are fucking crazy. Your band is huge right now." If anybody knows any emo heads from First to Last, if real ones know, that was like the band back in the day. They were like they were just like a definition of like Hot Topic. That's what the fucking band is. Yeah. But this shit was tight. I listened to it now. I'm like, yo, this actually still slaps. And it was one of them things where like, again, like understanding what you can do, what you have. And he literally was like, I'm going to play techno music. And now this, how many awards he got? Like, people doesn't even know his band exists. No one even knows that they even exist anymore, but they know who he is. Yeah. And it's like, I met that dude when he was 15 years old in Hell's Kitchen in Tacoma. That venue was no longer there. RIP. I met him when he was 15 years ago. This shit was wild. And it was like, yeah, it was crazy to see people who like understand like that. Yeah, no, I know what I'm doing. And again, like Kanye is another example. Like Virgil, rest of it is a massive example. The man literally built his life as to what he wanted it to be, in the sense of just like, my life is a museum, and everything I do, the only way you can talk about it is through as if it was a museum. And that is like what we pretty much think about him now. Is like he is a museum. Like that is everything in it. So I spent a lot of time with seeing a lot of musicians in a genre that was very hard to like really, really succeed in, because it's literally a bunch of all people just yelling about the same fucking shit, literally yelling about the same stuff with the occasional singing. And then if you were really cool, you had a keyboardist. That was like a wave of a couple of years. I just went ham. But yeah, it was really cool to see a lot of bands like that, and people that were like really, really like small time that blew the fuck up. And for me, it was like I was able to succeed in a way that like my succession was I was able to do it so long that I no longer liked it. And then I was like, all right, bet I'm good. This brought me peace. This brought me happiness. It doesn't anymore. So I need to stop. And it was because we like got really, really businessy. We got picked up by like the last band I was in picked up by Century Media, which is owned by Sony Music. And like it was like some big deal shit. Like it was really dope. The dude that owned the label lived in Germany, flew to Tacoma, again at Hell's Kitchen, fucking saw us play there, signed us on the fucking spot. And it was just like, yo, this is like some real stuff. But at the same time, it just really didn't. It got to a point where people were then controlling your voice, where your voice didn't really, and like your image, like it was like really, really like, wait, so you love me for who I am, but now you're trying to tell me who to be? That doesn't make any sense. You're profiting off of me just being me. Why the fuck are you trying to control who I am? That's usually what happens, But it's sometimes like I will say sometimes those people, they do it because they know it's marketing. It's a game. It's a game of chess. Act this way, and this will get you this. Be this way, it'll get you that. And for me and everybody who knows me, I am not that fucking way. Like I will never. I don't care who signs my checks. I am who I am, and I won't change that because that is why I'm here. Like and the thing is, it's like I got a really wide variety of like people that I know that I'm really close with, and like I know I'm doing something right because those people are all really good people that are really good at doing things and like that really influence folks in positive ways. Obviously, I'm not fucking perfect. I mean, shit, I'm a Pisces. I'm emotional as a motherfucker. Like, I get real emotional because I care too damn much. That's my biggest flaw is I care too much, and I care so much that like if you even to like my day job type shit, if you start coming at my people, I will come for you. I don't care if we're wearing suits. Like, it does not matter. Because we're humans. And if you start talking to people like we ain't humans, then I'm not going to treat you like one either. Like, it's just like one of those things where it's just, for me, that's the best way I've been able to survive and like navigate through this life is just stay true to yourself. Understand that the people around you are also aware of that. So they fuck with you because of who you are, not because of who you are this season. And it's like, even, yeah, you know, my clothes may change, my style may change over here and there, but I'm still very much the same motherfucking person. Like I went from being a shaved head to, you know, coming to Portland and looking like myself now, but I'm still very much the same person. I still do the same shit. I did music. Now I do other things. You know, I just chose a different vessel, but I'm still in my own vessel. You know, like I said, Pokemon form, second form. I've seen my third.
You got that Machoke energy.
Yeah.
Chopping people at the club. And
like, I ain't got time for that. No gray area. My dad said that shit.
Watch out, y'all.
Man.
And
Oh, you good?
before, because I know y'all, and we'll kind of like bridge over to the next thing, but for everyone listening, this is exactly why I wanted to have this guy on. Like when I talked about storytelling, like I had other questions regards to like music. You literally answered all those questions and all that, and I was like, never mind. I'm gonna brush those under the rug.
Hey, I appreciate that.
I just love the locked inness that you get into, and like even though we're all getting like a Costco sample of it, here I have a story that is a question that I will talk to you guys about later, but I call it AT mentality, you know, but I will talk about that another time. But I know I know music was a vessel for you, and now you're doing else things, your photography, videography, all that good stuff. And I know costs when it came to some things I know you want to know, right?
Yeah. So you were kind of talking about your transition. Was there like a specific moment where you're like, all right, you talked a little bit about getting signed, you didn't like how that was going, but what was like the final, like the straw that broke the camel's back where you're like, all right, photography's it?
When it was just like the realization of like growing the fuck up and be like, let me look at my bank account real quick. What the fuck am I doing for the next 5 years? Like that was my real, and like stuff, like we're here. And then I realistically was just like, okay, bet I was doing this for so long. Yeah, I survived. You know, it is what it is. I got, you know, the things to live comfortably as I wanted. But then realistically, it's like, I'm not doing this shit forever. And my older brother, I got one sibling. He's 5 years older than me. He kind of brought something to my attention that he was just like, he's like, regardless of what you do, you have a fan base. Like you play music, you have a fan base that likes you for this thing, that's music. But the things that you may do after this, they also may like you for that as well. So make it known that whatever it is that you decide to eventually do, they know that you're doing that. So for me, it was just like, oh, well, this is perfect because I'm already doing this for people. I was already going to shows and taking pictures for people live. I was already doing their promo photos, already doing this shit. So it was like, I don't know, it was an easy transition just to realize like, okay, this is my way because this is what I'm really passionate about in the sense of that drive where when I see my path, I go and I don't really hesitate. It's a positive angle and also be a negative, you know.
Yeah.
You sprint, but sometimes when you just sprint when you see it is what up. You don't warm up, you get cramp up. You have issues that will happen, you know. So but at the same time, you know, if you do it well enough and you stay, you know, ready, you know, even those things won't happen. So I try to stay as ready as possible. And that was kind of for me was just like me seeing the negativity coming from something that drew me passion, and then obvious things that were in front of me that were making me happy. Like I'm excited to go take pictures. I'm excited to do this because I love hearing other people's unorthodox and random like stories. And that's kind of how I got into like documentary type of like, you know, video or filmmaking and just videography and things like and photos and just like again just from observation, just outside looking in. I'm very like unique, and I'm very much like the odd one out in my family as far as like paths. But everyone in my family was very, very, very talented. But I was the only one that actually planned to do something that I was like in that route, artistic, not talented, artistic. I would say. So yeah, I think that was something for me. It was just like seeing a norm, seeing the thing that brought me joy, seeing it come to an end, and then being like, okay, this is something that I actually like, and I can actually turn this into a fucking job. Like I can actually do this, and then that's when I discovered what a art director was, and that discovered that a junior art director was a role, and then I could segue into this, and that what creative marketing agencies was the thing, and that there was buildings of people that looked like me that just made random shit for Nike. Like I never knew that these worlds existed because I was so focused in with music. So there was no reason for me. But the crazy thing was, it's like I was already thinking about how to elevate things. Like, yo, how can I design and build this set? How can I make this better? And blah 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 blah. But it was just knowing that the stuff that I was thinking about was already existing elsewhere. I just had to find that where it was. And when I was done with music, when I was living up in like the Seattle-Tacoma area, when I was done playing music, I literally like just decided within a week on Christmas Day, I moved to Portland. It was just like, all right, I'm good. I figured out what I'm going to do. I'm going to move there, get a part-time job, figure out, I'm like storytelling, visuals, like that's what I want to do. I really wanted to focus on just like my own personal art. Like I really separate the two. Like things that I do for me is a sense of just like, what would I want people to find of mine if I were non-existent and I only had remnants of like, my artwork? What of it would I want them to find?
Yeah.
And then there's the things that I just like enjoy doing. I just like taking pictures of people. Yeah. I love taking good portraits of folks. I love being able to like make someone who tells me that they're uncomfortable to have their picture taken, like have them be like, oh my God, that was great. And then feel great about themselves. I love being able to like give someone a tool that gives them confidence. And that's something that I just love to do. Like I honestly like my budgets for like my personal projects are like honestly like non-existent. I just say, you just feed me. You bring me food or weed and I don't really care. Like the way that I charge folks is like, if you are getting paid to do something, then yes, you better break me off some. But if it's just like, no, yeah, you just like, I would love to take your picture. Like that's fine. Like if I'm free, I got time, by all means, let's do it. But and that's kind of how I keep the passion is I keep the honestly, I keep the money away. Because once it got involved with my other shit, that's when I really stopped fucking with it. Because it's like once people start getting involved and start paying you for something, they feel like they own something from you instead of it just being an experience that they just enjoy. They're like, no, I'm expecting something because I gave you this. Or I could just be like, you know what? I don't like your vibe. I don't want to do this anymore. Goodbye. But then, like I don't actually owe you anything. No, but obviously that don't happen. But yeah,
it's like what they say: if you love baking, you'd hate owning a bakery.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's like there's ways you can segue, and I think ways that you can do that. And honestly, for me, and it's funny because you earlier spoke about relationships. I think having like a solid partner is someone that can really help you. I'm fortunate enough to be with someone that really understands like what I'm capable of, but also understands the weight of what that capability is, in the sense that only the human can do so much. So it's like I have a problem for asking for help, but if someone can identify exactly how to help me, I see this hole, let me plug it, then it's more beneficial than let me sit and waste your time trying to figure out what's going on, instead of me just like, don't you just see the problem? But when you're with someone that knows you and gets you, and they're just like, I see this, let me help you out this way, man, it is a game changer. It allows me to continue to run this marathon. It keeps me to, they're there to hydrate me. Be like, yo, you're gonna cramp. I know you're focused. Take a break. Like, take care of yourself.
There you go.
Wow, welcome to my arena. I was saving this for the end, but hey,
man, talking about segues, bro.
The genie's out of the bottom. We will come back to this.
Yeah, no worries.
But go ahead. One of the things why are you in my note card? I don't like this.
Funny thing enough, I had no idea what we were talking about before we got here.
This is fine. This is exactly how it's supposed to go. You brought up a very interesting point. This is what I was going to say for the back end, because one of the things when we were on the phone discussion and in some of our other interactions, things like that, is you brought up and you were talking, and we were kind of talking about like balancing of like career, mental health, and relationships. And the piece that I heard from our phone conversation and before, and even now, a lot of people don't understand the balance and what it takes, because you can be all in your career, but the other things fall at the waistline. You literally just mapped out what we've been talking to, not just men, but just people in general, like having that balance, having that partner. So I just want to ask you, what does it take for you in your works and how it works just for you to balance career, passion, and relationship? Because all those things make up who you are.
I will say, I'd say like in a nutshell, sacrifice, in a sense to be able to let go in some stuff. Like I am a very passionate visual storyteller. Like photography is like my fucking thing. Like I fucking love storytelling through photos, like building a set, layers upon like, positioning, lighting, all that shit. It helps what I do for my, my day job. I'm a creative, like a creative director. It helps benefit and push because of my general understanding of storytelling through visuals. But it is not the key thing that keeps that job. And I'm not employed because of my talent of photography. It just helps support my actual job. So the thing for me is I understand that I am not the best person with a camera. I know that. Everyone has their own personal thing. I have my own preference. I have my own thing. So it's like I work in a job where I literally I will employ other people to do it. Where I know I could do this, but I'm not wanting to do it all the time. That's not my thing. So it's in the sense of just like, in the sense that letting go of things that I usually would be so like wanting to be so attached of in order to have that definitive line so that I'm like, no, save that passion and that excitement that you want to give these folks, save it for yourself. Give them the knowledge and the experience and the support as a team member on the team. Give them your 2 cents. But the thing that makes you, that type of shit should also really go towards the thing that you really wanted to go towards. And for me, it is my personal storytelling. I know great ways to like leak it into my day job because again, like visual storytelling is a part of marketing. It's part of my work. So if I really give a fuck about something, I'm like, there's no bullshit. I'm really telling you, like, I want to help these kids. So I'm going to get emotional talking about these kids. Like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. This is what I'm actually trying to do. So it's easier for me to do something because I can identify how I can separate myself, but how that separation can benefit what it is. And also how that separation can, my day job organization and not being all in the weeds of being the person and the operator can help me understand how to structure, the rest of my my stuff I do for fun, like my passionate hobby type of stuff. So yeah, sacrifice, being able to identify those things that can really separate the things that would become guardrails, that become things that hold you up. Because for a lot of folks, I feel like pride and stubbornness can really get in those things. But for me, it's like the second that I could kind of get rid of that stuff for myself in certain ways, again, there are some things that I will never fucking back down on because it's who I am. But there are also things that I know that I'm like, God, okay, yeah, I'm just being fucking stupid. I just need to stop worrying about this. And that's something else for myself, is identifying that I know that I need to change and not do this or not do that in order to succeed in the best possible way for this. Because we always don't get to fortunate enough to choose who we work with. Sometimes we do, but in the reality of our day jobs, we're all doing it as a necessity to survive, and we're pretty fortunate if we can entangle the things that we enjoy to do. This could also provide food to the table. That's just fucking great. But at the same time, like I've learned, and like I said, like sometimes that can kind of dilute the thing that brings you. So it's identifying where you can put those guardrails to separate them, clearly to separate. I don't like guardrails besides that. I always say like no guardrails, guardrails, only to separate the things that you want to be separated. So it's like when I'm done with my work and I'm chilling, like that's it, I'm done. Like let's go into the other thing. I don't want this shit to drag on, because again, when it starts influencing your shit, like for me, I have a hobby or a habit of doing that. When it starts to affect the things that bring me joy, then it's a sign to get rid of them things. like regardless of what it is, if it's a person, if it's a place, if it's like, damn, this album really makes me sad, get rid of this shit, or only listen when I want to go to the woods and shroom out once in a year or something. Like pick a time to have those things happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Kind of, you tapped in on a lot of things. I had a question, and it kind of you talked about your personality and this like stubbornness, and then this like generosity and this like passion, and you bring so much passion in everything that you do, which it's great to hear because it really shows. And I understand now that punk rock side of you it's really like skewing out as you speak and you talk. It's pretty interesting. But my question to you is like, Portland is known for its arts, and it, you know, has a huge art scene. How do you make your work stand out?
Me, it's all the people that I associate myself with and surround myself with. That is it. We are all on a tree, and I am just a branch on this community of the folks that I found here. I came here not because of his artistry in a sense of just like, yo, like this place is known for this. I came here because I felt like it was a place where you could like just do whatever the hell you want and not really be judged for it. Like that was kind of my thing. And something that I really noticed off jump was just like, I want to try this out. And everyone's like, all right, bet.
Yeah.
Here are the things you need to try this out. Opposed to being like, what the hell you want to do that? Like trying to convince people. So I found myself just, I don't know, like finding it to be very easy, not even easy, comfortable to do that here. And with that and standing out is just like, yo, I use a lot of food analogies in my conversations, in the sense that like we are all at a buffet. The way a buffet works is like there's a table, there's a place that we gather, and then everybody brings something, then we all eat off of it. For me, I do the best I can do to be the table, or to be a place that has a table, and then try to supply a space for everybody to come sit. And then if I bring something, I want you to have a part of it as well. But it's very particular to the people that come, because they can also, bring something to the table, but it's bring something that's beneficial and collective. And Portland is a very much like a very good like word of mouth type of town, which is kind of tight. It's like I say town, it's like because it's like they acts like a city, but compared to other cities, it's not really much of a city in the sense of size.
Yeah.
But the people, the people here, I think, is what really makes it that, and the vibe. I think that's what's it. But
so like my next question to you is like working in photography. So I was going through your Instagram and seeing like a lot of your different photos, and like, how do we know it's yours? Like, what's the stamp that you put on your photos or your videography or anything that you do that's like, oh yeah, we know that's Taylor's right there.
lighting, all lighting. I personally, because it's I geek out on it. Like I'm personally just I enjoy like Rembrandt style lighting, like art. As far as just like composition, how to light a subject, how to draw focus to the subject, and I just love how to use light to literally manipulate what an still image is telling you. So that's kind of my thing. Is like I put my sauce on it through lighting, in the sense of how to use it, how it illuminates the subject, how it draws focus to the subject. And I also I pride myself that I try to shoot. I'd say literally like 90% of everything is in camera. Like I literally just crop, remove a blemish to make sure everybody looks tip top, and then that's it. Like I don't really do much.
That's impressive.
Yeah, because
Especially
I say it's like lazy, but it's like I just hate post. I would take so much more. I would enjoy taking so much more time getting it in camera to the point where it's just like it's there. I got it. I take 2 images and then I'm done, because that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And also because the images size files are so massive, so less is more. So it's like it'll shut my shit down. I try to open up 5 images at a time. So like I try to do as much as I can in camera, and also in today's industry, like photo, video, or go hand in hand. So for me, it's like being able to then use that same style of lighting, and it still looks exactly in motion. And so if I can capture that all in camera, then it gives the opportunity for those 2 things to seamlessly feel more similar. But yeah, lighting, that's my signature.
And I had a question kind of going with that a little bit, kind of about, you're a very, particular person, and studying your profile, I've seen, you work with some interesting brand like Gatorade, Jordan brand. Just kind of wanted to know how much creative freedom do you have when you still work with these huge brands? Because I know, they probably have a lot of oversight and they have a specific way they want to go. So how do you feel about that?
Shout out to those brands, because they fucking trust the people that they hire.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I was working at Jordan Brand, it was the first time I saw so many Black folks at such an executive level that it was fucking phenomenal. Even the president of the company was on the 4th floor. Doors open. You go and talk to him whenever the hell you want. Like, I literally funny story. So I ended up doing like art direction and photography for Jordan Brand, because I originally was in global brand marketing, retail brand. So we get a product, how does this product turn into a physical object that people experience a thing? So then we create something or whatever based off of a product.
Yeah.
What does the product do? Does it make you run faster? What communicates the lightweight? Well, feathers. Like, how do you communicate feathers in a visual, element that showcases the shoe? Like, you have an acrylic box with air in it that blows these feathers, and they're just floating around in this thing, like shit like that. Like that was literally my job. And I was sitting in a briefing, and funny enough, some portraiture of a friend of mine that I took Maze was on Tumblr, and this shit was on their mood board, and I called him out on it. And I was like, "That's my shit. Like, where did you find that?" And Nick Parkinson, he was the global brand director, brand design director at Jordan Brand. He's over at Converse in the UK, I believe now. He like took me aside and he was like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm in, like project manager. I'm a retail brand specialist." Pretty much was like, I do everything with global retail brand. Like, and he's like, "Why the fuck are you in marketing?" He's like, what do you don't do creative?" And I'm like, "No, this is what I just do for fun." And he's like, "Come sit with us." So I was really fortunate that I just called him out. I was like, "That's my work. Why are you trying to like replicate my I'm here. Like, I'm literally in the room with you. Why don't you?" And they kind of like took me over and was like, come sit with us. And I kind of sat with them, and I was like, showed them my other things. And I'm like, "This is what you guys do?" Like, "Oh, I can do this. Like, let me come." And it got to a point where like, it was more than just like, obviously I was good at what I was doing, but like, they were all just really cool people, and they all, again, they just enjoyed having me around. And I understood that. And I understood like how being that type of person can not only like make the work better, it can make shoots better. It can make it can make the vibe more memorable. Like, it can change everything. So for me, it's like, for example, like, I would rather teach somebody to do a job good if I knew I just fucking liked them. I'm like, yeah, I could hang out with this person all day. I'll teach you how to do the job. Like, I'll teach you that part. And that was something for them that they literally saw. They're like, "Yo, we fucking like you. You are really good at this stuff that you don't even get paid to do here." And I will say that like, it's still a company. It's still a massive machine. They still have, loopholes and things that hoops and doors you have to go through. So unfortunately, I didn't get all the things that I was told to because of the system and the machine that it's set up for people to thrive. And I will say that because they give you boxes. I don't like boxes. I'm a hallway type of person. I need space. Like, give me a fucking rectangle or something, give me some room to like move around. But the reason that company functions so well is because everybody has a role, not roles, no S, one. And if you have a bunch of people who are just fucking experts, then of course your shit is like, but for me, it's like, if you want to thrive, and like, for me, I wasn't ready to sit down yet. And I had some great mentors there. Really great mentors. So it was a thing that they literally were just like, "Yo, you should step away." It might sound crazy, but if you step away, like, you actually are going to get a little bit more room to do better, and you could come back and start asking for things.
That's awesome.
Because it's like, they aren't going to let you do your things that you want to, so you should go elsewhere, do it, and then come back and make your demands. But if you want to come back. So that was kind of like my experience into that world, was just because I was just like, I was in there doing something else, and I was still just doing my hustle, and then I just fucking saw it. And like, they really were like some of the like fucking coolest people, man. Like, Jeff Doherty, shout out Jeff. He is at Adopt now, which is another shout out Adopt, another great creative design agency from folks that were at Global Jordan Brand, who are just like awesome creative people who literally have their own thing, and they're like, "Oh, this is my thing. I pay for my family or my this, but like, I actually like really have a passion about this." And I think those are the people that I really fucked with, that like, they saw the company as like, this is like school almost for us. Like, we come together, we learn, we try new things, and we're not paying for it. It's not coming out of my pocket. Like, and it's also with a company that you can't really lose. Like, you can sell the same shoe over and over again, and it's still gonna sell out, and like it's still gonna happen. There's literally nothing you can do about it. So it's like one of the best positions you can be, because you get the green light to experiment, because you really can't lose. Like, you can have losses in a sense, but you are still like, those brands like that, like Gatorade and Jordan, they are Americana. They are a part of sport culture, regardless if we like it or not. And the people, and it's more not just the brand, it's the people that associate the brand. It just so happens that brand is a person. It's based off of a person. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that's definitive between, for me personally at least, is Nike is based off sports science and athleticism in sports, where like Jordan is based off of an individual. It is a person's name. And that just makes it a little bit different, where you actually get to see the person that it's based off of. that was another thing, like just that type of level of just like them allowing you to really listen, and they really did it. It was one of those things where it was really beautiful to see that level of just like giving back, and also the acknowledgement of fuck shit. That was something else that was really refreshing. Was just the acknowledgement of the bullshit that does happen, that the slack that they get, that they do, to the point of just like stop faking shit and just go talk to real people. And there are plenty of like they've been doing it for years now, as far as just like conversations, holding safe spaces for that, community outreach, donation, like all these brands are doing it. I just helped and partake with Gatorade launch like their whole equity in sport campaign, which is like the largest campaign they did for the year, which was just like us literally just talking about how the power of something can really like break down barriers for folks. And it's kind of unfortunate that we have to have that conversation, but let's have this conversation and let's actually do something about it, which was nice. You have a lot of folks that don't do something about it. So it's pretty fortunate to, for me to work with people that actually do something about it. And they're really about that shit. So, and I will say, cause they also employed me. So can't really argue with that when it's just like someone like myself that's really always like won't like turn the Zoom camera off because I do not hide my emotions. Like I said, I am a Pisces double cap. I am emotional and I'm driven. And you will see my expressions. And it's one of those things where I'm aware of it. So it's like, always learning, but it's who I am. Awesome.
Super dope that you work for a brand that's continuing to express like equality and stuff like that, and really trying to open that door, because it is something that needs to be expressed more, and especially in bigger brands. But it's exciting to see the work of the work of timetable, almost, I should say, of like your constant drive and your motivation. And it goes back to my Play No Games, but like seeing your motivation is motivating, because it's like you never gave it away, of like your dream and your goal. And even in the beginning of you doing your music aspect, you still tap back into it, and it's led you a little bit further than the music has. And then you tap back into it, and it takes you a little bit further. It takes you into things that allowing you to expand your knowledge on the things that you do. And now you're able to sit back, tap back into it, and do what you love to do. But it's like it's still always going to be there. So that's super dope, man. I've learned so much, and I've enjoyed it, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
And this now is story time. My very first introduction of like meeting this guy. Shout out to my boy Josh Melu. We had a project together, and he was like, "Oh, I have this person." He's like, "I'm surprised I haven't, y'all should have met before. Like, he's hella cool." And I was like, "I bet." Wearing the shirt right now, and like, he helped tell a story. Like, Josh was like, "Yo, just give him the concept, give him like a week because he's busy, and he's gonna blow you out of the water." So we get there, right? And Jay's a homeboy, so I trust him, right? But like, I didn't get the magnitude of what I was walking myself into. Like, he was like, "Oh, your name's Robert, great." We chopped it up for like 10 minutes, and then literally my closest thing to the reason why I said AT mentality, Kobe's closest thing to Kobe Mamba mentality was his mentality. And I literally talked to Jay about this afterwards, because y'all are only getting like a Costco sample, because like, when he's locked in, he's locked in. And like, it's not like, oh, this is, an ego thing. It's just how much passion he has. And like, I felt that in the photos that I still put on the site, where I'm just kind of like, I still feel that energy. And for me, and there's this book that's out here, I'm pretty sure you have all heard it before. You got to put in your 1,000 hours or 10,000 hours, before you get like a craft anything. Like, I can genuinely say I've met someone who's reached that threshold, because that genuine like energy to like help people, to create and tell stories, comes from a place of, the only thing that I could say I could rival you with is like my passion for people to understand the true essence and meaning of what relationships are. But like, I can talk about that nonstop. Find a way to like loop in anything to like, how can you make this relationship possible? And like, I was like, oh yeah, I like that. Like that's a person that I want to be around, because iron sharpens iron. And I just want to say, when it comes to, because we talked about a lot of different things, And I always think it's very, very helpful because when we talk about things, we always hear like, I've done this, and this made me who I was, right? I was wondering, do you feel comfortable enough talking about on the show on a time where you were like, we'll just say at the bottom of the bottom? How did you stand back up? How did you, gain that next level of that mentality? You said you're at the second stage. You got to go through some stuff to get to the second stage. Do you feel comfortable talking about maybe a piece of work that you weren't that proud of or interaction? What was something that made you lock in even further, a part of that 10,000 hours?
I think for me, it's like honestly, it's a lot. It's a lot of things. It's almost like 10,000 hours of like fucking swing and a miss, in the same sense. Like I don't know. It's there's a lot. There's a lot of things that I had to a lot of things that I tried that didn't work in a variety of ways where I tried it the same type of way, but then had to really like think about what I did differently to make it not work. And the thing that kept me going is that it is not permanent. Everything that I do is temporary. Everything is this fucking job that I currently have, and this is like, the job that I fucking hate. I can't stand these people. I'm not gonna see them for the rest of my life. This is not why I'm here. Why the hell am I even allowing this temporary thing to fuck me up from where I need to go? I know what I'm doing. Why am I letting something that is not gonna be here in 5 years, like really knock me off my course? Like that I guess that was the thing that kind of kept me going, is an understanding that those things will happen. And they're meant to happen for a reason. Like I was literally talking earlier today with my partner Paige, like about how at one point in time I helped a friend who had like a startup business, and I was doing the math. And every startup that I helped with my friends, like there's about 2 of them that didn't work out. And it was good enough to say that it had nothing to do with me. I was there to help, and it had absolutely nothing to do with me. Where it was literally someone else broke some shit, and it was just like, we can't do this anymore. But it was still the opportunity of someone being like, you know what, man, I trust you. I see that you want to do this. I'm going to try to do it. And then just being dirt poor for months, because of a hunch, because of something that could have potentially. But at the same time, it's like, now, would I have rather sat here and like beat myself over for not trying it? Or I'm actually going to try it out for these 2 months. Again, 2 months is not that long for out of 5 years. I can try this out for 2 months. Might be hard, but at least then I know what the hell I'm doing after those 2 months, and then we can go from there. Kind of goes back to what you were saying. It's like, going forward, going backward, not treading water, just knowing that you're going somewhere. And if you know that that's the direction, that is a lot more, I don't like sitting in the gray. And I think even in the sense of either I'm failing or I'm winning, but, definition of winning is different. My definition of winning is just, I'm a sponge. So when I learn new things, when I like find out that I'm like inspiring other people, when I just meet new people who like, I'm like, yo, like we've like, how long did we not meet each other kind of thing? Like shit like that. Like those are, those type of things. But yeah, I think that would be it. Yeah. Everything's temporary.
Man.
Even my music. Yeah. I took it. I was like, yo, I'm not going to be doing this for the rest of my fucking life. Like, who the hell is going to want to see me at like 50 fucking swinging my hair on fucking stage? No one. I don't want to see that shit. So why the hell would I act like that's the thing I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Like, no, I will always be a musician. Yes. But that is just a part of who I am. It's not a part of how I express that. It doesn't matter. I literally bought an electric drum kit and I don't know how to play the drums. And I just got it because I've always wanted to. And I know songs. I know how to play. I know how to play other things. And I'm like, I can figure this shit out. And I'm figuring it the fuck out. And it's just fun. Like, I just do it just because it's fun. Like, I didn't consider myself a bad musician. I'm like, no, I'm not a drummer. I'm just having fun with music. And I have good rhythm. So I can, let me have some fun with this. Yeah. Temporary.
Man, oh man. Yeah. Oh, no, I was knocking out of the park.
I think what you just said reflected on me, and just like something that I went through today, and just like I was talking about, just like continuing next steps and stuff like that. Like knowing and recognizing things that are temporary is like very important, because things begin to piss you off. You're like, you know what? Fucking, I ain't even got time out. Like, man, I ain't got to deal with this motherfucker for a few more weeks. Hold up. It's about my time to go anyway. God damn it. And so I think you hit. I think a lot of people who listen to this show, man, I think a lot of people can understand that and recognize that, like, especially if you staying motivated
Yeah,
and,
man.
driven and stuff like that, things are going to be temporary. So I think that's dope that you bring that up, because
I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. It's really fucking hard. Yeah, man. Like life will, like I like to say, life doesn't give a fuck about you. It doesn't give a fuck about your aspirations. It doesn't give a fuck about your dreams. It doesn't give a fuck about who you're trying to inspire. It doesn't care. Life doesn't care. But I give a fuck about those things. And I live in this life. I am here, so I'm going to do what I want to do in this life. I'm not going to let the life to control what I do. You know, like that's my main thing. Is like, yeah, I get crazy shit thrown at me all the time that try to throw me off my saddle. But it's just understanding. Like I know my purpose and I've identified it, and I'm fortunate enough to say that confidently. Like I know people are still trying to find that, and I spent all of my teens, 20s, and damn near, the beginning of my 30s. My 30s is really when I really started to actually like figure out like this is what I'm meant to fucking do. But to really like sharpen that so it's effective.
Yeah.
Where it's like I don't like the terminology of when people say like jack of all trades but master of none. I'm like we are in a different generation now. Like we are masters of all trades because we have fucking unlimited knowledge at our fingertips. Like so why the hell not? Yeah, at one point for sure, but no, like I'm a master at everything I do because I put in the time, the dedication, and the experience and the knowledge. Yeah, man.
I think we can round home base with this because I think this is like a key point to bring us all together, and it can be popcorned. Y'all can come in because we see this big wave of what like male masculinity and all that other stuff looks like. And one of the things we do on the show is obviously, we have our jokes. We also, talk about different things. But one thing I definitely can say about everyone's up on here is like they have their own definition of what being a man looks like. And I see a lot of dudes trying to figure out what that is at 20, at 30. And it's just, for me, it's just really sad because it's like you're putting an expectation on yourself that doesn't have to be. And I guess I want to ask all of you, because in your own rights, you're experts in who you are. Even though you're going to the next level, there's that foundation. And I just want to ask all of you, and it doesn't have to be we can, however, whoever wants to go, but like when it comes to mental health and you being in tune with yourself, in tune with your identity, how are you talking to yourselves as males? Because I know a lot of guys who's like, oh, I'm 30, right? I don't have this. We had a conversation. I had to catch myself and like, oh, I don't have this. I'm not here. And, I know I just have a circle of people who jockey me out of this. And I'm just wondering, how are all you have been speaking to yourself lately and others when it comes to like, hey, we are here, we are people, and we matter. We don't have to have these things. Like that doesn't make us and define us. And I just want to just check in with all of you to end it all. How are you checking in yourself?
I think it's like, for me, it's the first thing is just honestly, like you put it in it's the language that we use. When you say like already, like you put something in you put something in an already perceived perspective when you say what it is to be a man. Now, if you say what it is to be a leader, like I think that is what is different. Because it's like it's when you say man, you kind of like, okay, what is that? Like, do I have to be tough enough? No, fuck that. It's like, what if it's a leader? Like, what are you doing to help, other? And even for me, the way that like I do that is just like, again, like I'm stubborn, but being humble and understanding that, being patient, that like the way that I process things is just the way that I process things, but doesn't mean that everyone else has to do it the way that it is. So I think it's just really important to just like identify that and be like, I know that I can be difficult sometimes, but I'm first off establishing that. So I'm trying to not be difficult, like that type of approach. And that's kind of like, I think that's the best way for me is like, okay, yes, I agree with this thing. I see it and I see it to myself. I know it, like, yeah, damn. Yeah, I know I do this. Damn. Like, that's kind of my thing. And like, okay, well, you know it now. So that's good. That's a win. That means we can stop it. That's kind of like how I approach that. Is just the language that I use to it, and then making sure that I know that I'm identifying and like, okay, this is something, a habit of something that I do that I don't want to do anymore. I've literally said it out loud that I need to stop fucking doing this thing. I'm really much into like speaking things into fruition, and like also apparently when I write lists, I get shit done, and start checking them off. Because I did that the other day, and I like did everything that took me 15 minutes, and I did not want to do that for the last year. It's just like, then all I needed to do is write it on a fucking whiteboard just so I could cross it out. Just have that.
Satisfaction.
Yes. That's great.
I guess I'll go next, and I kind of like how you said that, because like the definition of like putting something physical there is what changes the mentality for like your direction of what direction it could go in, right? Like what it is for me to be a man is going to be different than anybody else. What it is to be a leader is going to be different than anybody else, and I understand it's supposed to be your perspective. And I just feel like, what are you doing to keep yourself mentally stable? And if that is defining yourself as a man, if it is defining yourself as a leader, defining yourself as some type of role model, a parent, whatever, like what are you doing to keep yourself mentally stable? And truthfully is like communicate with myself, be open, and be open in a way I can be open to other people. So how I speak to others is how I speak to myself. And like you said, trying to find the words to communicate to myself in a positive more manner. Like, how can I be more deliberate about what I'm saying, so that I know that my next steps and what they're going to be. Yeah. And so like for me, that's kind of what I've been taking on these last few months, is really trying to be more uplifting upon myself, because out there in the world, it's not going to be uplifting like you talked about. The world don't give a fuck about you. Oh, yeah. And we had someone on the last episode that gave us a huge thing. Huge shout out to Tyler Monk a few episodes ago, I should say. And he was saying, I tell my kids, or he said, he gave us a reference, if you take a picture, you don't look for anybody else in the picture but yourself, and to see if that's a good picture. And I was like, man, and that's so real. And it's one of those things that like you got to communicate with yourself and be confident whatever yourself is doing. And I try and stand in that space and continue to motivate myself in that manner. So yeah.
And I'll keep mine pretty brief, but like I'll just say like this experience in itself, where I'll just say this, because I know how the world looks at my maleness and my blackness and those things together. And each day I turn that on its head, where I'm like, no. Because I had actually, it was so funny. I remember this. I remember this very so well when I was talking to some kids at a school, and I used to, because once people hear my resume, they're like, Rob, you ain't got no girl, you ain't married, what's wrong, right? And I had a kiddo was like, oh, blah blah blah, are you married? And like I answered his first question, because I was like, he had like 3 questions, and I really thought through. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna answer that. It's none of his business. Oh, and I was like, nah. The reason why I'm saying that is because it's an uncomfortable truth that I'm trying to, live through. And I was like, oh, I'm not. But what I said, ask myself was the notion that I know I'm doing the work, where it's eventually gonna happen. I'm gonna, it's gonna happen for me. And then I would say overall, what we're building here, like the reason why I wanted to get better, not just for myself, is because we all have similar views of like what this could be. And I'm like, all right, let me do a better job of communicating with these people and getting things more in line, because it's important in watching that grow to be like, all right, Costa saying this, Age saying this, that. And that, for me, in my way of challenging what manhood looks, where a lot of people don't see. I'm a Pokemon trainer. I love hip hop. I know the Sailor Moon theme song. Like, I can hit y'all a lot of different things, because I'm not going to let what anyone thinks, because I define that every day for myself. So that's my little bit. But you got anything?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. So in terms of being a man, growing up in a Romanian household, the man is very much the man. Whenever I cried as a kid, my mom would say, in Romanian, ești bărbat sau ești căcat, which translates to, are you a man or are you poop?
Oh,
so that's kind of the household I grew up in, and that's kind of that's just traditional way. But the last couple of years, really kind of putting that aside, be like, you know what, I get why that was a mindset back in the day, but being more in touch with myself and understanding, like, you know what, if I have a bad day, if I'm not feeling good, that's all right. I can take a day off. I can I don't always have to be, Mr. Whatever. And it's okay to cry here and there. Better than to pent it up and then punch a hole in the wall or whatever.
Hey,
Everybody needs their own little like safe space to literally be themselves without ridicule. And I think the world would be a better place if everyone felt comfortable to be themselves. And I think it's very fortunate that, there are people, that we can surround ourselves with that provide a space and a platform to do that. But there are also a lot of folks that really will never have it. And it's just a bummer to think about someone who, in the sense of a human being, can't be who they really want to be because the people around them just don't get it. And it's just something that's like, you have one life. And if you could just be who you really want to be, you could influence and inspire so many people. But just because you don't feel safe and or welcomed, you'll never be that. And because if that doesn't exist, then the other things will never exist. And it's just like, it's unfortunate that is something that is like, it's just with the times and generations, like you even pointed out, like that's a saying because I guarantee during their fucking time, you either had a British man because you're probably going to fucking war. So yeah, of course, but now it's not that. So obviously the different to be, the conversations would be different, even in the sense of just like me wanting to be an artist when I was in high school was just like laughable. I'm like, no, because no one knew what a graphic design or art director, like it was like either you're an artist, you're a famous artist, or you are like homeless on the streets writing, drawing pictures for like money. Like that was like my mom's mentality because that was her thing. It's like artists don't make money. And I'm like, no, that's not the way that it works now. These are actually different things that you could do it like different ways. So,
spot on.
well, everyone, I will say this. Everyone who's receiving this message, if you're a murderer or the other things or those other people I'm not going to say, you can't be yourselves.
obviously, it goes with the caveat of being yourself involves harming other innocent
Yes!
people. And even yourself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, no harm, no foul.
Stop it.
Being comfortable to be yourself in a safe, respectful, manner. Like, that goes without saying. Like, don't be out here saying, like, you know what? I'm like 50 years old and I don't want to wear clothes in a park. You know what? That's not cool. Like, just don't do that. Don't be a fucking idiot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's happy for you, bet. But the rest of the world doesn't agree with you, and there's a lot of laws that also don't. So please don't.
Well, you haven't heard of YOLO? What you talking about? I was just trying to be live my best life.
Best life by yourself.
Exactly.
In a jail cell.
In a jail cell.
By yourself.
Jesse Smollett.
Oh yeah, juicy. I was gonna. That was gonna be my Play-Doh Games update, but I'm gonna say it
I
for
am
another
not
time.
suicidal.
Anyway, I think this is the perfect time to. I just want to say thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thank y'all for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Like
Yes.
literally, like I needed this like expressional shot of just like your atmosphere to be like, you know what? Fuck right, I'm doing this right.
Hey man, I'm happy to hear. We just scratched surface. I got plenty of bullshit. I'll write a book eventually. I'm on the vert path of my third form. I'm starting to dabble in some things that I haven't even like shared with people yet, but it's pretty fun. But I'm not even probably won't even share anybody with it for like maybe at least another year. Just for me to like again feel safe and comfortable to be like okay, to do respect to something and to share something that I know I put enough into. But yeah, man. It's exciting. I got a couple of other things, I guess, this year. I'm going to do a project that, happens still, but it'll be fun.
Well, if you ever get in a space of sharing that, we would love to have you back here
man.
again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But this has been the Play No Games podcast / show.
Hold up. You gotta let the world know who you are on your socials, man.
Oh yeah.
By Anthony Taylor. That's as easy enough. By Anthony Taylor. IG. What is it? ByAnthonyTaylor.com is my .com. I'm revamping that, but it'll be up and running soon. Yeah, Instagram's the best place.
I was trying to look on it.
I know because I'm revamping. I did a lot of work in the last year and a half, so I'm like revamping and putting more work up there so y'all can see just the portfolio stuff that I got, which has been nice. And this year is going to be a lot more of my own personal like work, a lot of my art. So I'm excited to share that with folks.
Well,
Dope.
You got anything else in the tank?
Thank you for coming along. If anyone's listening, hit subscribe, hit that like, share this to your mom. have her listen.
Can we stop
Thank you.
sharing it to the moms? What about the dads?
Hey man, you got to give them some segue to get down with what's up. You know what I'm saying?
There we go.
Their social feeds are completely different from the rest of ours, so they are
Damn right.
unaware.
Let's change that
Man.
algorithm, eh?
Yeah, you got to change it up.
This has been the Play No Game podcast / show.
Peace.
Thank you.
Probably wondering if I think of you. Sorry, I'm for the bag right now. Yeah, I'm for the bag right now. Yeah, for the bag that I never had. Yeah, you probably mad right now. Yeah, I got a 2-piece now. Shit, I think they call them groupies now.